I'm Emma Hewlett from Coolaught Gardens. I'm the chairperson of the Wexford Garden Trail, and I'm going to be interviewing the members of the Garden Trail to find out a little bit about their businesses and their gardens, their garden centres and their parks. Really excited to have Harry Deacon here from Coolaught Gardens, which is 1.5 miles from Clonroach. And Harry and Caroline have been members of the Wexford Garden Trail from inception. So Harry, tell us a little bit about how the garden started.
Thank you, Emma. Well, the garden started off more by accident and more by chance than it was something that we decided on. We entered a national garden competition, which was a garden competition that ran across the whole of Ireland, with each county represented. It would have been the late 90s, 98 or 99. And it was our first time to ever enter our garden for the competition, or the first time we knew of it, and we entered, and we came second in Wexford.
Fantastic. Yeah. And it's quite unique, really, because other than the garden, which is just so gorgeous, you have a very good nursery where you sell plants.
That really came about because we had travelled a good bit. We had bought plants from everywhere, and we call ourselves plant nerds, in that when it was rare or unusual or different, we wanted to grow it and see how it grew. So when people visited the garden, they saw a lot of plants that they never saw before, and those weren't generally available. So that sort of prompted us to say, well, right, we have the garden open, but there's a lot of people like ourselves that want something different, but they're not available. So that was the second part of the process, was open a nursery, growing some of those plants that we couldn't source, and the others that we could source, buying in and selling them to other plant nerds.
So you must meet some really interesting people.
It has been one of the real high points, I think, of what we're doing, is meeting so many people with such knowledge and such interest in plants. And those people are usually very grounded people, very down to earth. And even though you meet people who have huge significance in the horticultural world, anyone like that is totally grounded.
Tell us a little bit about the garden.
The garden is pushing on for 3 acres at this stage. When we opened first, it was probably about an acre, a little better than an acre. Mm-hmm. The oldest part of the garden is at the front of the house, and that would have been where my grandmother and my mother would have gardened. And that's probably the instigation of me becoming interested, even though probably when I started, it was just growing fruit and vegetables, something to eat, like most men, if they could eat it. It's more interesting than looking at it. But then when we started getting a lot of tours and that in, we decided 18 years ago to extend the garden. And that was a paddock below the house. Coming from farming background, you mightn't have been always that au fait with maybe taking out land to put in a garden in. But we did that. We had a lot of... Caroline used to always keep telling me, you've loads of trees that you want to plant and things that we want to put in. Why not extend it, So I blame her for that. But, it has been fantastic in growing so many different trees, shrubs, species of different things, and always trying to pick out the best varieties.
It's a really personal service, isn't it, that clients who come to you are getting, because the way you speak about the plants is so lovely, because it's like they're your children,
Yeah.
and they're bound to thrive because you're giving the right information to people about planting and nurturing them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, and also, a lot of people that are inexperienced in gardening, I'm often accused of having words for everything, or a description, my own way of describing things. And in sort of design of a garden, oftentimes people tend to do the ribbon effect. And that's one of the words that I use. And the ribbon effect is where they have a rectangular garden and they follow the outskirts of that garden with a ribbon of plants without changing the look of the garden or making the garden more interesting for themselves in the future. So that's another thing that we often have people come with photographs of their garden, and we sort of give them advice on how they should lay it out and to make it look more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the plants.
Yeah. Because gardens are an extension of ourselves, aren't they?
Right.
And it's such a personal part of our lives. Do you get a chance to enjoy and relax in your own garden?
We found that we tend to go through our garden without being too critical.
Lovely.
In the evening time.
Great.
Right. And we found that blue flowers and white flowers usually make up those evening colours that shine out of the darkness, or the half gloom when you're walking around late at night. An exception to that is evening primrose, which is Onontaria to someone that wants to use the Latin name of them. But we went around with a German tour. Onontaria evening primrose shines out like little small beacons of light in the darkness. And we were going around with a German tour one day, and I knew that they weren't using the Latin name, but they were talking about it. And so I asked a couple of them with good English, could they use their common name that they were using, could they translate it for me into English? And 2 or 3 of them got together and they came back with evening candles. And I thought, the Germans have bet us on that one because it was an even better description, a common name description for a plant. I took a video of that plant one time, put it up on Facebook, and it was the darkness all around the garden didn't show the plants, but the evening primrose did show up.
Nature speaks, nature heals, and I think that's probably the most important and most lovely thing that's come out of this conversation is the depth that you have with Caroline for your garden and for your nursery and what you do, and how you look after people who are looking to nurture their own gardens. So, Harry, thank you so much for coming in today. It's been really lovely chatting with you, and the very best of luck with the garden for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, Emma,
Thank you.
And appreciate the opportunity.